Well, as I said before, everybody calls me Aunty
If I
Shana.
start a tape, I'll have to include now get Jamil, get this,
Yeah.
Jamil's
Come now.
to me.
No, it's okay. You can.
Good. Yes.
Tell us about yourself now,
Okay. Now, where do I begin?
of life generally, when you were
General.
small.
Oh, when I was small, as I said before, that I was always the pet, the special one, the one that was born with a silver spoon. My father loved me, my mother loved me. Both of them loved me, but I think my father had a special love for me. And I was his really special daughter. And he gave me the name Shana because he said he went to some function or something and he heard of this princess name, Princess Shana, so he came back and said I was his princess. And since then, everybody calls me Aunty Shana. Right, so then I can't remember much about when I was small, but I know that we were in Georgetown, where I went to the convent, and me and my nephew Harold, we were in the convent, and we used to fight a lot. We used to fight a lot. I used to call him Big Nose, and he used to call me Fatty. So every time he calls me Fatty, because at that time I was fat. So I used to call him Big Nose, and he used to call me Fatty, and we used to really fight. And I think I used to call him Big Head Babu, right? Yes. So we had a wonderful time, and then I grew up, and my brother, Bodja, he took me to Wilson. There was this man, he used to do shorthand and type in, and he took me to the commercial school. And then I started going to commercial school to do shorthand and bookkeeping. And I passed my bookkeeping and my shorthand and my typing. And I had a certificate, I can't remember it was, but one was, I really can't remember. It's a long time now, right? And then he took me to music lessons where I used to play the piano, but I prefer the guitar. So he gave me a guitar, right? But I used to play little tunes on it and all of that. And when I go to England, he always used to tell me about the strings and this, and put your hand like this and do that, and how to play the guitar. And then I used to get tired because he had me drilling me all the time on how to do the guitar. And I used to say, look, I come here to enjoy myself, not to put, fatigue myself with guitars and all of that. I want to talk to you. I don't want to do guitars. And then always go to England every 2 years, and I would spend a long time with Zuleika, 2, 3 months, sometimes 4 months. And then she would take me to different countries. I went to India, I went to Tunisia, I went to Italy, I went to Paris. Where else did I go? Can't remember to that. Yeah, but I had a nice time, and I always go to that. And the last time I went to Farida, that was about a month ago, and she took me all over too. That was in Minnesota. So I had a really nice time. And now my brother's not well, so I'm here to help out Zelina, and all the family is here, and we're having a nice time. And I hope my brother feels better, and inshallah, he will feel better. So that's it.
Talk about your marriage.
Oh, well,
And
yeah, well, I was engaged really to be married to one of the Rahamans, but that was broken up. We had a big engagement, and he wanted to take me out. And in those days, they were not allowed to take anybody out. Men were not allowed to take you out unless they can take you out after you're getting married. So I told him, well, you can't take me out because of me, we are not married. He said, no, he wants to take me out. So I told my brother said, okay, I'll fix him, right? So he came and she said, that was Kaiser, he was the bad one. And she said, you know what? yes, my sister can't go out with you anywhere. So from now on, the engagement is broken, right? You find your way home, okay? So he was really, he really loved me, but he went to Aunty Shaka and asked her if she could take him to Leguan to ask my parents if we could get married. But my father didn't agree. And then I met Jamir. He had just come back from England as a lawyer, and his father told my brother Keza, oh, my son had just come back from England and he's a lawyer. So my brother said, okay, bring him around. And that's how we met, right? And after about 2 or 3 months, we got married. And then we were living in Murray Street. And my brother, my father really bought the house, but my brother looked after everything, renovating the house and getting everything fixed up and decorating and all the decorations and that. And then we went to live in Murray Street. And then I got Zuleika, and then I got Farida, and then Arif.
Tell us about Zuleika.
Yes. And then they went to the Ursuline convent. They went to kindergarten, and then after that they went to Ursuline convent. And then they got married. And then Zuleika is living in England, Farida is living in Minnesota, and Arif is living in Canada, over here. But Arif is a little baby, 2 years or 3 years. He always used to tell me, Mom, when I get big, I want you to come and live with me. And I made a promise with him that I will come and live with him. And so it happened that I came over, and I'm living with him now, right? And his father came, but he died a year after. And since then, I'm living with Arif, and he's taking very good care of me. He gives me anything I want. He takes me anywhere I want to go. And he's really taking good care of me. So he loves me very much, right? And
That's what Zuleika when she was growing up, the kids.
oh, Zuleika, she used to, every Sunday she wanted her father to give her a surprise. He had to get some surprise to give her, to take her somewhere different. And he had to bat his head up to find where can I take this girl out now, because she didn't want to go in the same place. And she always liked traveling, which she's doing a lot now. She's been to a lot of different countries. And she said, when I grow up, I want to travel the world. And she got her wish, She did get her wish because she's traveling all over. I mean, it's only a few countries that she hasn't seen her up to now. But she likes to travel. And when I go over to England, she takes me with her. And we have a really nice time. When I go to England, she takes me all over. And I know England now because when Zelina and her father was in England, I took them around, right? And he said that, he wouldn't go to England unless I'm there, because he likes me to take him around. And then I took him to a restaurant, and there was this cassava chips, which he liked very much. They call it mogo, and he likes it. And then I bought something called faluda, which they liked so much. And when she came over here, she went to a restaurant where they had the same mogo and the faluda. But when I went to the hospital to see him, he said, you know what? I had the mogo and I had the faluda, but it's nothing like the faluda or the mogo in England. And they're the best, right? So I said, well, okay, I'll take you back to England. So you try and get strong and healthy, and we'll go together, right? So he said, okay. He shook his head. He said, okay, I'll go with you, right? But inshallah, I'm planning a trip to Mecca next year, but for Zuleika. She wants to go to Umrah, and I want to go with her, and I'm hoping that I will be able to make it with her. So that's it.
And that's Zuleika, Farida.
Oh, Farida has her daughter, a little one called Faryal. She's taller than Farida. She is almost as tall as her father, and he is very tall. And Farida took me all over, and she really treated me nice.
Yeah.
And she took me to these restaurants and all these, continental restaurants and all the Indian restaurants where we had nice food. And she took me to a Chinese restaurant where they had lovely prawns, right? Big prawns, the coconut prawns, dipped in a coconut batter. That was really good.
Tell us about her life when she was growing up, Farida.
Farida. Well, she was the little, what shall I say? She was the Miss Hoity-Toity. She was the haughty one, the little haughty one. She likes to do her keep fit. She would do it hours and hours, and she would do all her keep fit. And she used to like going out and dressing up and buying a lot of clothes and all. She takes after me in some respect. She likes to dress, and she looks very well this time when I went to see her in Minnesota. But she's always, she likes to read a lot. And she has piles and piles of all these big novels and all of that she likes to read. And I used to borrow her books to read. They all used to go to a library next in Thomas Street next where we were living. And they used to borrow these books and they would read, and then I would wake up the whole night to read these books, and the mosquitoes would be biting you, because there were plenty mosquitoes. And Jamie would say, okay, get into bed. And I say, okay, just now. And just now would be 2 or 3 o'clock because I wanted to finish that book, because they had to take it back the next day. So we had a nice time, really, all 3 of us. And
Tell us about the little boy now.
oh, Arif.
Yes.
Well, Arif liked me since he was since he was small. And he used to take a book in his hand if I'm sitting on the chair, and he would run up and down in front of me like he got a car, right? And if he see his father coming near to me and talking to me, he would go in the room and powder his face. And his face would be white, and he wanted to attract me because he didn't want his father to come near to me to hold my hand or anything, because he used to be running up and down in front of me, and I would play like I am not noticing him, right? And that would get him upset, right? And he would run, and then he would stamp the car in front of me. The book was his car, right? But he always liked cars. He always liked cars fascinated him, right? And even up to now, he likes cars, right? So he would come and run in front of me. And then he used to, I used to hold his hand and take him to school. And he used to wait there for me. And then I can remember one incident where I used to make his lunch and give him to take in the mornings to school. And instead of giving him his lunch, I gave him the container with the butter. And the teacher used to open it and look at him and look and see what they have for lunch. So when she opened it and she see one big container full of butter, she said, oh my God, you eat all this butter every day? So he said, no, my mother forget to give me this butter. And then sometimes he go to school, and if it's late, he said, oh, my mother didn't wake up, or something. So he'd make some excuse, especially that his mother woke up late. So one morning he went late, and the teacher asked him, who wake up now this morning late? Who wake up? So he couldn't answer her because, the way how she put it, who wake up now this morning late, so he couldn't answer. But he was very bright. And I used to, coach him with his maths and his spelling and all of that. And when he go to school, he was so bright, he was ahead of the children in school. And she used to ask him, who is giving you lessons? And he used to say, my mom, because she thought he had a private teacher teaching him at home. But he used to say, my mom. So when the results came out, he was very bright, and he had good marks, and he could have gone to any school he wanted. But then we wanted our Celine Convent because it was close, just a street from where we were living. And we applied for that school, and he got in. But Farida, when we took her, this teacher said we wanted her to go in there too. But she said that there was no place because, you know, they didn't want Indians and so in that school. But luckily for Farida, she got high marks, right? And she could have gone to any school that she wanted to. So we applied for that school, Ursuline, and she got in there. So all three of them went to Ursuline Convent.
Tell us about Uncle Jamil as a man. He was a magistrate at work, but how was he as a husband and a father?
Oh, he was very good. He was, well, I had a maid. She was saying that she wished he was so good. I had a maid and she was saying she wishes she had a husband like him. He was a friend, he was a husband, he was a father, he was a brother, everything wrapped up in one. But he would have sometimes he would get mad, right? I mean, when you do something wrong, he had very, very high principles. And everybody knew him in the courts that he was a man that you couldn't, mess up with, right? Even the Prime Minister, Burnham, who everybody was afraid of, and whatever he tells them to do, they would have to do. But he knew that he couldn't bring that sort of thing to Jamir. And they all knew him, right? That he had very high principles. And he was one of the best when it came to deciding cases and all of that. Because there was all the magistrates and the judges, and everybody was there sitting at the table. And they said when there are two magistrates, when they give a decision, don't appeal it because it's well decided. And
But what you used to call him home? I mean, everybody knows him as
I used to call him Jamir, but after we got older,
no honey, nothing.
oh yes, oh yes, oh I can remember this. I used to call he used to call me honey, and he used to call me honey, and I used to call him love. And then Zuleika used to hear that, and then she used to call him honey. She used to call him honey. So when we go to Auntie Penny, she used to call her father honey, 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 and she used to say, Auntie Penny used to say, what you calling your father there? She said, well, mommy calls daddy honey, so I have to call him honey too. But she really liked her father. I guess she liked her father more than me. She liked him more than me. But Farida was very attached to me. And when I got Arif, she was she was grieving because I was paying all this attention to Arif, and she didn't want to cry, so she used to bite her lip all the time, and she used to bite her lip so hard that after some time, her lip came out like this, her lip, like it left that thing there on her lip, right? So I know that she say, and she thought that, well, I didn't like her now as much as I did, but I did like her. But she mean that I was paying more attention to Arif now that I had Arif more than her. And I think she still thinks that, right? Because one day I can remember she say, oh, you love Arif. So I say, how you think that? So she say, oh, you just call Arif Sonny. So I said, oh, well, okay, I'll call you that. So she laughed. But she knows that I like all three of them equally, right? And
What were the favorite dishes of the children?
oh, well, I used to bake a lot on Fridays. I used to bake a lot. And I used to bake, like, Farida, she liked cornbread. And Zuleika liked pone, her father liked pone. And I used to bake a lot of rolls and cake and all of that. And used to make a lot of pine tarts. And one day Lima came. She came to spend a week with me. And she baked a lot of pine tarts and patties and cheese roll and all of that. And Lima has a habit of when she do something, she count everything. And it's 20 there and it has to, one each for every person. And it's going to last so many days. So the children, I always give them as much as they want. So she went and they went and they steal the pint tart and the cheese roll and they hide it under the pillow. So every 10 minutes she goes, she check these pint tarts and see, well, they're okay, that nobody gone with them, right? So she said, oh God, you know the way how Liver talks. She said, oh God, somebody gone with all these pint tarts. I guess it's this children, right? I guess it's they gone with it. So she went under the pillow and she find all these pint tarts and she find all the cheese roll and everything. And she said, come, give me it. I'm putting it back. I said, listen, lady, my children are accustomed to eating as much as they want when I'm finished baking. So you don't tell them not to eat it, right? You just give them it. So she said, oh Lord, you train them bad, man. You train them bad. I said, no, they're accustomed to eating that. Let them eat it, right? But Lim is a nice girl. We used to go to school, as a matter of fact. I'm only 6 years older than her. She and Rahana, my Kase's daughter, we used to go to the convent together. And I used to cut the hair and perm the hair, and they used to come for me to make them up. And I used to pluck the eyebrows and all of that, you know. So, and then I had my sister-in-law, Rosanna. She liked me a lot. And one day she asked me to pluck her eyebrows. And I said, okay, I'll pluck it for you. And then I pluck out everything and left her with no eyebrows. And she said, oh, I'm going to kill you, you know. And why did you do that? I said, well, you told me to pluck your eyebrows, and I pluck all. I thought you mean pluck all your eyebrows out. So I did that. And then my brother-in-law, everybody used to be scared of him because we used to call him the boss, right? And he told me, okay, he wants to sleep and I must pick out all these gray hair from his eyebrows. So what I did, I pluck out all his eyebrows too, and I take the eyebrow pencil and I draw some lines on his eyebrows, and then I took the powder and I powder his face white, and I took the rouge and I rouge his two cheeks, and then I took the lipstick and I lipstick his face, right, his mouth, and do all kind of funny things on him while he was sleeping. So when he wake up, I told him, I said, look in the glass and see if you like it. And when he looked and see, I had to run, right? Because I know what was going to happen to me. So I used to do all these wicked things, you know. They used to tell me I'm really, really a wicked one, you know. But I just used to do this for the fun of it. Not that I'm wicked. I used to enjoy doing these things to see how they will react, you know.
Tell us a little bit about the Aunty Sissy.
Pardon?
Aunty Sissy.
Oh, Aunty Sissy. Well, I guess I was her favorite sister, I don't know. But I always used to be at her when she was in Cumming Street. I always used to go there and she used to come to me, and whenever I have any dinners or anything, I would invite her. One time she was sick and Shahid used to take her to me every morning, and I used to feed her and I used to comb her hair and do everything for her, and then Shahid used to pick her up. But we were very, very, very close, and we used to go to the seawall every afternoon, and we would walk up and down, and then she would take us to get ice cream and all of that. So we had a very close relationship. Even up to now, we have that close relationship, even up to now. And
Uncle
Uncle
Hanif.
Hanif.
He's the one with the roots and everything?
No, that was my sister's husband. He was the one with the rouge. And Uncle Hanif and I always come here in Sentinel, and he always tried to teach me the Arabic, and every time he gives me books and tell me I must learn it. And when I come, he would say, you learn it? And sometimes I didn't learn anything. I would say, yes, I know it, but I don't know it, right? But now I'm trying to learn. But I know quite a lot because I learn a lot, and they had this Maulana. We used to do zikr every time. And I learned quite a lot from Maulana Sadiq. And I read and I develop myself, and I read a lot. And as a matter of fact, I like to read, and I like to, to know a lot. So I do a lot of reading, and I'm trying to learn verses of the Quran and all of that.
And finally, Auntie,
Oh, Aunty Shaka. Well, I used to go to her every Friday to have lunch. Yes, and Jamie liked her a lot. And every time he used to go to her, and she used to cook all these nice dishes and all these things, and she used to lay her table, and she used to do a special thing that he liked, something with potato in it, and he would ask her, well, how you make this? And she said, okay, I'll make it for you. And one thing she used to do for him is the tripe. Whenever is
We just call it
shaka. So whenever she do the tripe, she would make sure that he got some of the tripe. But I don't like tripe, so I don't eat it at all. So he used to say, "Oh, I can't buy tripe because you wouldn't do it for me, right?" So I said, "No, I don't eat that." Tripe used to be like smelly to me. I said, "I don't want that smelly thing." So she used to cook it for him, and he used to enjoy it. And he says, "Oh, it's nice. Come taste some." I said, "No, not me. Don't give me that."